hour. Nebraska football now into the third week of spring ball. They ran around yesterday, and media put eyes on them.
Yeah, a lot of guys looked the part.
In the past, I would like poo-poo that, and I would say, "Come on," but there are some guys like McCullough. McCullough's he's what 6'5", like where he was at Oklahoma to where he is in a short amount of time, and then you look like his arms, that gigantic wingspan. I'm okay seeing him, but there are other guys like Ochoa and Keona Davis and Winery, like some of the defensive linemen. Like Winery looks different. I will tell you the guy that what was going on in Starkville. Gabe Moore was listed at 250. Gabe Moore is now 290, and he is a large human being. So guys do look a little bit different, but I don't dabble in that world. But I'm not going to knock people because a lot of the guys you're seeing for the first time, and you're like, well, when I last saw you, like even Cam Lenhart looks bigger,
which is kind of crazy because when I first saw Cam Lenhart his freshman year when he was 18 coming from IMG, he already looked like a grown man.
They have more guys that look like men.
Yes.
Like not just built, but they look like they've been through it facially. No, they're like
you're right. No, I chuckle because
look at Alabama. You look at guys from Alabama, and guys from Alabama don't look like they're 22. That 18-year-old left tackle looks like he's in his mid-20s.
You're right.
So Nebraska has more guys that look like they've been through it, and they're a little bit older. I mean, they look like Elijah Judy. Elijah Judy looks very mature, and he looks older than what he actually is. So
they look like they got, and this is the thing,
that was my main takeaway from yesterday. But I know when you get to see players for the first time, and you go, Jesus, Winery, who did you eat?
There is a thing called muscle. There is a thing called, like I learned this in just stunning, like early development, late development, like
of yourself.
Like no, of like there are people who are just like early developers, like they just like hit puberty quicker and they look bigger and they're faster.
Called girls,
and they're like, well, I'm just talking about like just dudes, like they just look like you said, like adults. Way quicker.
Fully
and you look at a guy like
carpet.
Jeremiah Smith, or you look at a guy like Ryan Williams, and you're like, holy crap, how are these guys 17 or 18 years old? Like that is, I mean, that's a thing. It's like when you get these young guys who don't look their age like that, like the best players look like that. Like you said, they look like grown ass men facially.
So, and one guy, I'm rooting for him. I root for stories and I root for individuals that you get to know. And he worked out yesterday, and then when they went live, he went back and did his rehab behind the scenes. God, don't do it to me, Teddy.
Yeah.
Teddy looks good again. Teddy, so they're about 6'9", 6'10", 315. And just don't do it to me. He looks a lot better than the last time I saw him. But the one thing I noticed yesterday, and now that this new staff is working more, and I think why Rule likes the staff he's assembled is their teachers.
Yes.
Like Rule likes to teach, and you can tell that coaches are a lot of hands-on. And I was looking at the coaches that have the loudest voices and the more active in what position groups they're with.
Mm-hmm.
So the hierarchy of Matt Rule's coaching staff in terms of their importance.
Oh,
Matt Rule's at the top. Dana Holgerson is number 2. Number 3, Phil Snow.
Yeah.
Phil Snow has a huge role on this staff, and especially on the defensive side.
Wondered if you talk about him.
So there is a clear difference on who's doing what. If you're just with your own position group, or if you're bouncing around, or what group of players that you have. And he's working with some of the younger defensive backs. Also, I don't think it's a coincidence that 2 of the most important position groups, run the damn ball guy and stop the run, hold on for a moment, is wide receivers and defensive backs.
Yeah.
And they not only have good position coaches, whether DeKale Shorts or Addison Williams, but they have extra bodies that are with them. Verbois is with Shorts. D. Michelle is with the defensive backs. Phil Snow is spending more time with the defensive backs. So those two groups, which are pretty large numbers, are getting like some of the best minds that are with them. But in the hierarchy, Rule, Dana, and Phil Snow.
I think
Thank you, UCLA. If they don't implode against UCLA and there's questions about the defense and there's some heads knocking, does Phil Snow get more, does he not
does Dana get brought in? Is it as a quick fire sale?
We sent the cookies to Sean Foster. Thank you for coming in here and picking off that pass that should have been a touchdown to begin the second half. Not that I remember
it. With Phil Snow, I think when you judge a hierarchy of coaches, right, it's how much do the players care of their opinion, of that coach's opinion of them, right? And I think that Phil Snow just kind of has a presence on that field where he's walking around and coaching the DBs and not butting his head, but putting his opinions in different spots and places.
Yep.
Just with how the way he carries himself and how he's talked about by the staff, his opinion matters greatly, matters highly. And I think that you can just tell with just how he is, just his presence, that man, players, it matters a lot what Coach Snow thinks of you.
It's important because you can, when you're around him, the respect that Matt Rule gives to Phil Snow.
Yes.
So immediately as a player, you're like, I don't want to piss that guy off. And I want to know what he's all about. Like, you know this, you've been your young career. If the higher ups, if they have respect for you, then your employees are like, okay, why does he respect him that much? Let's find out.
Yeah.
And you find out and you're like, oh, this guy knows football. Okay. So if my head guy respects him, then I'm not going to try and pull one over on him. And I'm going to try and learn as much as possible. It also goes to his coaches. Look there's when they had their coaches clinic, I mean, coaches on the staff are taking notes from coaches that are speaking. It's a good teaching staff. And I noticed in the videos that I saw yesterday, and I don't want to go overboard on reaction, but it just seems like more coaches are involved, not just standing there going, hut, keep your head up.
Yeah.
But like are active in the drills. And they're also doing something that I noticed a little bit more. They're correcting mistakes on the field and instead of waiting to get back to the film room.
Yeah.
So in the moment you correct mistakes and then you go and get back in line, your next rep is up. There are some staffs that would prefer, hey, we just need to run through the reps. Let's go. And we'll get up to the film room and we'll watch a practice video and we'll then correct it there.
Well, I think another thing too, you talk about when you are a younger guy and you have the respect of an older guy, then you ask those questions, oh, why is that the case? And then just that respect kind of couples over and then they respect you. I think a great example is Da'Keil Shorts, right? Where he's a guy who he's been brought in because Dana Holgorsen has respected him so much. Because Dana is like, no, that's my guy and this is what I need. And you have just only heard other coaches talk very highly of Da'Keil. And why is that? Because he is endorsed by Dana. But then at the same time, clearly you still have to prove it. You still have to go out there and coach. But the whole point about this staff likes to train. When John Butler was on the microphone, I think it was last week, and he was talking about the differences between coaching in the NFL and coaching players. What really stuck with me is when he talked about how Matt Rule told him, hey, in the NFL, you coach, here you train. And the way that he said that and the way he articulated it, you could tell that that's something he still thinks about. That's something that he still has in the back of their mind, or back of his mind. And I think that is the sign of an incredibly healthy coaching staff, a coaching staff that is always willing to learn from the other coaches that they are around, right? You've heard it a lot in terms of Marcus Satterfield yesterday said, man, I'm learning so much from Dana, right? And John Butler said, I've learned so much from Phil Snow. The fact that there is that kind of environment of, hey, we're going to iron sharpens iron, we're going to get better. And then that only translates to the players. Like, that's just not like a good coaching staff. That's a professional coaching staff.
Thank you, UCLA.
It's a professional coaching staff.
Thank you, UCLA. I know that day sucked. It was gray. 27-20.
Wasn't too cold. But
saw Bieniemy smiling.
Hey, don't talk about my running backs coach like that. Love me, my running backs
outside
coach.
of Memorial Stadium, I'm okay with EB. Inside of Memorial Stadium, I'll never get over 90. Wish he would have pulled a hammy when he was running around the